by category in a different manner, and their aim is to reduce the human touch points. If I can bring all of this into a platform where I will reduce the human touch points, then the efficiency and the management improves a lot. So if you really look at what we have analyzed so far, we have analyzed this from a plant operator level, plant level, and enterprise level, 3 layers of how these systems can bring in the necessary transformation. And we also have put this in terms of information, just sharing information, integrating, and as well as making that intelligence. And there are several components that makes the decision making, accurate decision making improved on all those 3 parameters. So whether it is information, it could be dashboards like KPIs, what Pankit has talked about. Integration is manufacturing intelligence, real-time intelligence, and operator dashboards. And intelligence is remote monitoring, diagnostics, strategic investment, and planning systems. For example, this is a very interesting system because companies which are in the utility industries has lot of assets, and they are very costly assets. They have to maintain it, they have to replace it, they have to repair it. How do I make those decisions? And there is a probability of failure of those equipments, and there is a consequence of failure of the equipment. And you have a huge, if you are a water utility company, you may have huge set of assets, and you may be spending almost $200–300 million in working through and capex spending on those assets. How do I decide what is that I should be doing? So there is a very TCS developed a heuristic algorithm based solution taking into account failure models, taking into account reliability models, probabilities of failure, and also the consequence of the failure, and creating a strategic investment prioritization system. So it is a industry input and intelligence by way of technology and mathematical modeling to decide in a better manner is what such a tool can provide. I think those are all the elements that make up in terms of transforming from A to B. So the question then would come finally is to ask, okay, we are where we are, and what would be the right way to start, right way to understand this, right way to go about the transformation. So we have put together some steps towards that. One is, of course, the heat report, that basically provides where are the gaps, where are the issues, where the disconnects are, and what the business is demanding, but the systems or the process or the plant is not able to respond to. Where are those issues? And then what could be the as-is and to-be process related study, how that study will reveal what should be the to-be status, and even taking some benchmarks from here industry or in the global industries. And then prioritizing. Obviously, there are already some investments that are sunk in, there are some infrastructure that are there. I don't think we are suggesting that to get to a transformation from A to B, we have to disrupt that and take it away. Those investments can be conserved, protected. On top of it, you may need to make some decision on having some extra information and infrastructure. And that is what the business needs would tell us what are the short-term and long-term business needs. And then over a phased approach, not a big bang approach, in a one plant or 2 plants, in a phased approach, we can start implementing some of the components of the transformation which we discussed here. I think this is perhaps is the approach would definitely take us to get ourselves prepared for meeting the changing market needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raghu. I request Andy to give a small moment too.
Thank you very much. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, Andy.
I would request to call upon our next speaker, Mr. Nanda Kumar, President, AIA, to give a keynote address on sustainable development and automation. Mr. Nanda Kumar is a chemical engineer having 40 years of experience in process industries and founder of Chemtrolls Industries Limited. And also he's a chairman of IGA Divisional of CII.
Very good morning and greetings to all of you, from me as well as from my association, Automation Industry Association. I am very privileged and proud to be here to talk to you on the very subject of sustainability and development combined with automation. I must confess that I'm not the great automation engineer. Most of you in the hall are much more qualified to talk on automation. Neither I am a philosopher to speak on sustainability. But then you must think why I am talking on sustainability. Having been in the industry for more than 40 years, and that too more than 37 years in the driver's seat, I felt that I can delve into the subject more in a practical note. And that's why I have selected this subject of sustainable development and automation. Which one is it? The key words are development, sustainability, and automation. When you speak of development, all of you know what is the definition of development. It is to enhance the quality of life. When it comes to sustainability, there is only one definition. Satisfying the needs of present generation without compromising the chance for future generation in satisfying their needs. And automation, if you look at, it is an industrial infrastructure providing for sustainability. That's my definition of the automation. Most of you have very technically defined definition for automation. And what are the three pillars of sustainability? The three pillars of sustainability is people. When you speak of people, I would say that is the biggest ingredient of the sustainability. When we started long back, our history of the country, we have some system of untouchability among the people. Today, that has been removed over the evolution of the systems. Yet, our people are still not equated. That's why the process of inclusiveness has been brought into. Today, it is more or less that we treat our brothers and sisters equal in our spheres. And we are also bringing in a lot of affirmative action in order to strengthen in our processes, so that inclusiveness and affirmative action is certainly helping our people development in the process. Now, if you look at the next one is environment, that is a planet. We have not really bothered in the previous times to look at, we always used to throw it away. But if you really look at what is environment is giving, two simple incidents of recent studies I will tell you. There was a recent study conducted. What is the cost of oxygen required for inhaling the 6 billion people of the universe per year? It is estimated that the diluted level of the oxygen content in the air, to produce that much air, it is $75 trillion are required to produce oxygen required for inhaling for the universal population per year. And there was also another study conducted. What will happen over a period of 3 to 6 months if all the insects or creatures of the universe is vanished? It is found that over 25 years, the universe will collapse. So we don't understand the value, what is the creatures, what is the germs, what is giving to the universe. So the study says within 25 years, the universe will collapse. Another study conducted, they say, what happens if the human elements are removed from the planet over a span of 3 to 6 months? That says the universe will flourish in 25 years' time. So you can imagine the damage the human is giving to the country. Why? Because the human body is decomposable. So that is allowing the planet to flourish. That is the value of the environment which we need to look at to give at that. The third one is economics. The word I use, the prosperity, is slightly modified way. The actual word is profit. But in certain parts of the country where the communism is prevalent, profit is not a word which is accepted, or profit is a word which is not really admired. So I slightly modified it to the word prosperity. So the 3 pillars of the sustainability is people, planet, and prosperity. And if you really look at prosperity or profit, India is the lowest end of the. A study shows that the manufacturing value addition per person is only $108 per annum. Or rather, I would say in terms of ratios, it is only 1/8 of what is China is giving and 1/6 of what is Brazil is giving. Don't look at the developed countries. So the manufacturing value addition per people is much, much lower end. And that is where we have to look at how to enhance the people and economics into that great strata of sustainability. Before looking at the development, we have to look at what is the state of the economy. See, 11th five-year plan, there was 2007 to 2011, we had $1 trillion our GDP. From $1 trillion, we went up in 5 years to $2 trillion. The 12th five-year plan, which is 2012 to 2017 beginning, that $2 trillion is supposed to go to $3 trillion with a 10% growth. If that 10% growth is actually translating into 15% in terms of manufacturing year-on-year growth. If we need to achieve, we have 25% of the manufacturing share into the GDP by the year 2025. And our population is 1.2 billion, which will go up to 1.4 billion. Given that security, given that scenario, we have nearly been able to achieve our food security. And we have also have been able to enhance our standard of living. If you really look at it, on an average, 6,000 cars are sold in the country. And 31,000 television sets are purchased by the people. And mobile phones are over 4 lakhs. So there is standard of living of the people has gone up. Urbanization has really caught up. But if you look at 2020, what is our vision is, We are looking at our GDP to touch $4 trillion and the manufacturing share to go up somewhere around 20 to 23%. And by 2025, it is looking at 25%. That is a great challenge for a country with 1.2 billion population and still 40% of the people or 38% of the people below the poverty line, and nearly 50% of the people still do not have banking facilities. Under that conditions, in order to look at what are the forces that will drive, first one is the governance, then second one, of course, infrastructure, very poor in the country, still in the process of developing. Then coming manufacturing and global grid and environment. When you look at governance, why is it 1947 when we had independence, we did not adopt either socialism or capitalism. While West was capitalism, East was socialism. We found a way of socialistic pattern of society which nobody has practiced so far. But that socialistic pattern of society over a period of 1950 to 1990 certainly has given a growth momentum. It was considered to be manufacturing growth. Manufacturing was the growth engine during that period. But then it has its own flattened up. From 1990 onwards, it was very difficult for manufacturing to pick up. But if you look at 1990 or 1991 July, our Reserve Bank governor had to go pledging the gold even to the Japanese bank. That was the condition. So that is what forced us to open up our economy. And in 1990, the reform process has begun. And today, that was the beginning stone for the country to stand on its own. Over a period of 20 years, by 2010, our markets are more or less liberalized, though it is not totally convertible or completely capitalist convertible in the world economy. But when you look at from 2010 to 2020, for India to become globally integrated, that is the biggest challenge. That delta is highly complex because the base is shifting, political base is shifting, population base is increasing. And to match up with those, the political will is diminishing. Regional federalism is catching up. With that conditions, governance has become much more difficult. Unless the governance is in place, you can't have sustainable development. What is infrastructure for that? As I said, our infrastructure has been poor, but over the period, quite a lot of emphasis has been given. Today, if you look at infrastructure, 31% of our population lives in the urban cities. By 2020, it is expected to go up to 41%, and by 2050, 2/3 of the population lives in urbanization. So if you do not enhance our infrastructure, you can't have a development, you can't sustain it. So very important aspect is build the infrastructure to a great level for you to sustain the developments. Then comes the manufacturing. As I said, the first phase of our 1950 to 1990, manufacturing went up 2% of the GDP. But afterwards, the manufacturing was tracking the GDP. It was not going up. Today, manufacturing is only 16% of the GDP. And if we have to enhance that to 25% by 2020, the growth year on year is 15%. And that is the biggest challenge because infrastructure is lacking. We do not have the skilled manpower. The estimated skilled manpower requirement is $100 million to be skilled over a period of 5 to 7 years in order to have the growth rate for 2025. Why manufacturing in India, if you look at, because 18% of the population in India and China with 40% of the global population control the manufacturing. Where consumption is, the manufacturing is there. So India and certainly China will be the manufacturing base. The second aspect of manufacturing is what is the productivity inherent? India has the labor, qualified, competent, knowledgeable labor. and technology is available. If not available, it can be sourced. Sourced on a platform equal to all the people knowledgeable within the stakeholdership. The third one is where demographic dividends. The average working population of India is 29. That is the biggest advantage for India. If you look at any other places, it goes from 33 to 45 to 50. The average working population of India is 29. So that demographic dividend alone gives the manufacturing surge for India for the years to come. And the literacy rate is nearly 80%, and most of them are speaking English. So that helps the communication much more better way, much more faster way. Now, when you come to manufacturing, if you look at the manufacturing share in GDP, if you compare to, say, for Thailand, it is 40% of the GDP. China, it is 34%, and all the emerging economies is around 25 to 30%. For India to bring the manufacturing base to that level of 25%, if we need to take another 12 years, it's a great, great challenge. By the time, if we reach that, the base shifts, the core values shift, core industries undergoes reforming process. That complexity is the one which demands automation to make real-time decisions for sustainable development. India Vision 2020, if you say, various base elements for manufacturing, for sustainability, this is estimated, with 1.6 billion population and 22% share. Even power, still today we have a huge gap in demand and availability. Another force that drive development, of course, it's not visible, is it's a global grid. Today, the capital market is good. The moment you get up, you know what is happening in the East. That will determine our stock markets. That goes. So it's a global grid. Anything what we look at, capital markets, education, trade, everything is globally integrated. So you can't be isolated for in the growth or in the development. Anything connected with internet, it's all World Wide Web. Information is available. So if you really look at, the growth is globally integrated. So we need to be part of the global grid to retain that sustainable development. Then come the environment. On the environment side, why I say that it drives the development. Otherwise, most of the people will think that it curtails the development. Today, you can't do anything without protecting the environment. As I said, the two factors of sustainability on the human beings is the environment. Without really contributing the environment protection in terms of air quality, water quality, or waste management, or renewable energy utilization or energy efficiency, you can't sustain. So the 5 forces that will determine the growth is in governance, manufacturing, infrastructure, global grid, and the environment. If that is the sustainable development, what are the deliverables that depict sustainability? See, markets. India was a monopolistic country earlier. When I say monopolistic, means controlled, politically controlled, government controlled. From monopoly to, it's highly competitive. When we opened up, it is a global economy. From monopoly to highly competitive market, we have transformed. Then what are the issues coming up? Prices become cost plus margin, which used to be in our controlled economy, it is becoming market determined. Look at the products. Company used to sustain with single product. Today it is no longer possible. You need to have multi-products. And that's why Mr. Raghu Ayaswamy told, flexibility in manufacturing is required, because in one quarter you may have 20% growth. The next quarter your growth comes down to 1/3. So how do you sustain? So you need to have multi-product, whereby flexible approach, flexible modules has to be required. Same stream of manufacturing should be able to produce different product lines, then only sustainability comes. Goal, meeting customer need was supposed to be the Indian philosophy. Today is no longer that. You need to go into customer delight. And security, we had least priority. We used to have one chowkidar standing somewhere in the gate used to be the security. From that, that it has become critical. Across the value chain, across the control system, the security is much more important. Connectivity was interfaced. It was layer to layer, but today it is totally integrated. And our philosophy was reactive. We only react to the situation. It is no longer sustainable. You need to have highly predictive reaction. Then only sustainability comes. Our attitude has been rigid. If my product is, my specification is that much, I do not want to change it. From that rigidity, you need to have a very flexible approach to sustain in the market, because the consumer has become the king. Protocols, especially for the automation systems, it used to be a proprietary. Now it has to be very open architecture. No longer acceptable to have a proprietary protocols, restricted practices. Integrated operations. We had isolated, we never bothered to what we discharge, if it is a process industry. Today, it calls for zero discharge process. You have to recycle and recycle, nothing can be dischargeable. Production planning. It was a forecast based, and today the system demands it has to be real-time based production planning. Organization, which used to be a hierarchical now, it will be collaborative. There is no such hierarchical system will certainly give the results. Opportunities which used to be local, now it is global. That's why I said global grid is coming into picture. Quality, we always say that I'll have the best quality. No longer the best is acceptable, you need to have the world-class quality. Safety, it depends on how the organization, it used to be some companies responsible care, some never bothered to look at. From responsible care, it is mandated OSHA, occupational safety and health. And optimization never bothered because we had cost plus margin. So it was, if at all some companies used to do optimization, it used to be local. From localized optimization across the value chain, we need to optimize, then only we can sustain. And innovation, it was never, or it was, if at all there, it was highly insignificant. Today, innovation has become highly imperative. Innovation in products, innovation in process, innovation approach, innovation attitude, everything is required for sustainability. Excellence, it was pursued. I consider myself excellent. But today the perception is not sufficient. You need to be perfect. The perceived is not sufficient. And methodology used to be command and control. From there, it is empowered. It has to be system driven. All these requirements certainly involve automation into each and every aspect of process in order to sustain. If these are the main requirements of today's sustainable business, the main challenges more or less same: globalized economy, risk minimization. We never bothered to look at risk because risk is very rarely considered as a perception here. Enhancement in profitability. Stakeholder wants year-on-year return on investments. Retention of knowledge. In a globalized economy, it is very difficult to retain the intelligence within the company. Especially if you look in India, the time taken from Bombay to Delhi and back is, if it is 5 hours, from Bombay to Dubai, you can reach 2 hours. So people are moving. So if you need to retain knowledge within the company, it's the biggest challenge for the industries. Capture opportunities. If you don't look at what are the opportunities anywhere, you can't sustain within the company, within the perceived paradigms what we operate. Reduction in energy consumption. One study says, if you are able to consume energy in the Indian industry, as on today, to the extent of 5%, we can save 10,000 megawatts without generating. So a lot of emphasis is given at the government level, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, as well as the organizational level, to have energy efficiency. If you need to have energy efficiency, certainly you need to automate the processes. You need to relook at the analytics to have built into that. Which equipment, which process demands much more energy than what is required. Today, apart from Bureau of Energy Efficiencies, there is also energy efficiency credits has come. Some of the industries, especially the cement, has been already benchmarked. what shall be the energy consumption per ton of cement produced, and then you can get a benefit out of that. So certainly we look at energy efficiency, flexibility in approach, which I said earlier, avoidance of obsolescence. Earlier we used to have one product, one technology. Today you need to look at what is the technology upgradation in order to meet the ever-changing the emission standards, ever-changing the